Welcome to Braaains, a podcast exploring the inner workings of our brains, mental health, and disabilities, and how film and television portray them. Hosted by me, writer-director Heather Taylor.
And by me, film and television editor Sarah Taylor. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that the lands from which we recorded this podcast and from where you are listening are part of territories that have long served as a gathering place for diverse Indigenous peoples. And we are thankful, as guests on this land, to be able to live, work, and gather here together. We continue to learn about the history that came before us and the impact it has on the present, and we encourage you to do the same.
Actor, writer, disability advocate, everything, Alicia Grace Shanae is a spark of literal joy. She joined us to talk about living with blindness and a brain tumor. We talked about How to Train Your Dragon, all of the films. And it was like the first film that helped her connect to her disability, and the limited series, All the Light We Cannot See, which included a blind character and actor who was treated more than her disability.
Alicia really wants to have more authentic representation of people living with a brain tumor on film and TV. Brain tumors are often used to have a character suddenly on their deathbed or show a miracle cure, but often people with brain tumors live on a wait and watch period like Alicia, who has had her brain tumor her whole life. Her mantra is "No day but today," a song in the musical Rent by Jonathan Larson. He inspired her to live her life in love and not fear as she lives through 6-month periods between MRI scans.
A quick reminder to our listeners that this interview should not be taken as medical advice, and it is for informational purposes only. Because everyone's brain is different, please consult your healthcare professional if you have any questions. And now, Alicia.
Alicia, welcome to Braaains. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited.
Can you please tell us about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a actor and director and any hats I need to fill based in Northern Ontario. And I also happen to be blind and living with a brain tumor.
I didn't realize that you were in Northern Ontario. That's very exciting. Yay, Canada.
Yes, freezing here.
Oh, yes. Well, if you're comfortable, can you share with us your experience living with blindness and with a brain tumor?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with a brain tumor at the age of 6 months old. So my mom really had all of that experiences. So for me, growing up with a brain tumor was normal. I was in grade, like I was going to school at the age of 4 years old, and I introduced myself to my teacher as, "Hi, I'm Alicia. I have a brain tumor." That got my mom to a phone call home, and so asking that. But my mom really raised me to be comfortable with these words and understanding them, and as I got older, understanding them more complexly and just at the age and developmentally. And then when I was kind of in elementary school, I knew what blindness was. I understood that I was different from the other kids. And I would try to, the other kids were curious as they are. And a lot of children would ask me, like my peers would ask me, like, what is blindness? And the teachers would just shush me. And they said, disability and blindness is not something we talk about. That is not what we do. We celebrated disability maybe once a year with Terry Fox. I don't know if you guys know of him, but
yes,
he was
yes.
he walked across Canada. And other than that, there wasn't a lot of disability representation for me growing up. So I very much from like the ages of like 9 to 18 just ignored my disability as much as I could. I got my first white cane at the age of 9. I would take it out for my white cane lessons, and then it would go right at the back, or right back to the bottom of my backpack. And I thought I was clumsy as a kid, but no, I'm just really, really blind. And I think that was because of, representation in media and society of what disability is. And so when I got into college, my O&M worker, which is orientation and mobility, basically teaching a blind person how to navigate the world and using my white cane. And she knows I like pink, hence all of the pink. And she goes, "There's this new company. It makes custom colored white canes. If I get you a pink one, will you use it? Because you're going into the big world and everyone, you need to, be safe." And so I said, "Pink, you say?" So I walked into college day one, and very anxious me, then became Blind Barbie. I guess that was
Mm.
my like name there, and just owning the white cane and the whole persona around it. And now I have more canes than days of the week, and that include the Taylor Swift cane. I am a big Swiftie. And I've been fully bedazzled cane. Its name is Seymour because suddenly Seymour is standing beside me, another musical
Yes.
theater reference.
I love it.
Yeah, and then living with a brain tumor, throughout my life, I've had 6 brain surgeries. I've had chemotherapy as a child, and I just had radiation a few years ago, which for like rate as we were speaking, brain tumor is still shrinking and stable.
Oh,
That's great.
great.
That's great to hear. That's great
Yeah,
to
long
Yeah.
story short.
hear.
No, I love that you have a cane named Seymour. I
Yeah.
also love
And he sees more than me, so
yeah, oh yeah.
That's the best.
For those who don't know musical theater, Suddenly Seymour is from Little Shop of Horrors.
yes.
Which is fantastic, a fantastic musical. So you are we're gonna ask about your many hats.
Yes,
And
all the hats.
all the hats. But the first hat is about acting. So how has your experience been navigating the entertainment industry as a blind actor?
Yeah, so I started acting when I was about 10 years old. I think I really gravitated towards it because as a 9-year-old who was getting bullied being blind, I was able to go to the theater and escape and play different characters and really go into that imaginary worlds and tell these other stories and live vicariously through other characters who had really cool lives, you know? And so I was, theater kid in heavily doing a lot of like community theaters, theater programs, anything I could get myself into, from a very young age. And then when I got into high school, I begged my mom for me to audition to the theater arts program at an arts high school. And so I got accepted into there, and that really changed my trajectory of, you know, being able to do something I love and I wasn't getting bullied. The acting world was incredible. I did face a lot of discrimination in the accessibility field though, because for me, I had a theater teacher and, she was very lovely in teaching, but disability was not her priority. Accessibility was not her priority. I was told like my scripts were never enlarged for me, and very much being told that like disability is not meant for the theater. So I faced a lot of stuff that way, but I'm someone who absolutely loves performing and loves any kind of, you put a camera on me, hello. And so I did not let her get in the way of that dream of mine. And so when I was 16, I got onto a film set. Somehow, someone let me on a film set, and I actually met a very famous actor by the name of Billy Baldwin, and he took the time to talk to 16-year-old aspiring me and just gave me such great advice. He basically told me that if I want to do it, like I will get there, and just to keep going at it no matter what. And after that, like I was just gung ho about this. So I graduated from theater school, took a pause on theater, and went to go do what my mom said at the time when I was 17, a regular job, in regular school. So I did early childhood education. Absolutely love that. But again, the world of that was just really hard for me to get a job in, because a lot of people don't see me having low vision as an asset. When in reality, like they're like, "Oh my god, a blind person watching my children, what?" But in reality, I am more focused on them with the little vision that I have. And then going in, I then graduated college, went into disability studies, and got to start exploring some film classes. So I actually got to make a short film through school as well as another program, and submitted that to a film festival. And yeah, now we're here.
That's amazing. Well, how did all of this navigating the industry to be an actor and in theater help shape you in the approach of being like for you to become an accessibility consultant?
I was on sets and basically getting that experience and realizing there are just gaps between point A and B. And I've also had experiences where, I've been the main actor. and there are still gaps, and having those conversations within the crew and talking about what are easy things that we can do. So I've always been an accessibility consultant in my day-to-day life, just because I'm often, I think with people with disabilities, we are often the trailblazers, and often the ripple makers of like, we are the first to do things. So, in my small city of Sudbury, I am probably the only blind person who's in film and acting. And so I often will go on like a set, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, you're blind and you're acting and you're working in film." That's a huge stigma right there. So I think because of that, and then the way I've grown up, I think all of that has led me to really wanting to bring more accessibility into film. I was on the set of a little show called Shoresy. Don't know
Mhm.
if you guys know what
Oh,
that
yeah.
is, but I was on
Yes.
that set. And as we were all walking in, there was like a 1-inch divot
Mhm.
in step into on like from platform to like the ground. It was like such a little step. Everyone was tripping on it. So I went over to one of the the tape guy on set. There's always a tape guy. So I went over to the tape guy and I said, "Can you just like put some yellow tape there?" And that just made a whole big difference for everyone on set. And I think after that, a lot of different sets as well have taken in some like accessibility things. Just they would come and ask me about stuff, being like, "What do you think of this? What do you think of this?" Yeah.
So you're currently completing your degree in
Yes.
disability studies at Toronto Metropolitan University. So what have you learned from that course that might have been unexpected? Um,
Yeah.
and and then how are those studies impacting your creative work?
For many of us, we grew up learning about the disability world through the medical model, and through also like so the medical model, for those who may not know, is basically like disability is the problem. Disability has to be fixed and solved. And sometimes we see aspects in our lives of the social model where it's like, okay, it's kind of like the built environment that's the problem and that needs to be fixed. Disability is just there, and disability is cool. And then I decided to go into disability studies, and my first day, my first class, I sat there and I had to shut my camera off because my jaw was just dropped on the floor the entire time with how I don't want to use, like, I guess radical would be the word, like this radical new and fresh view of disability through the disability justice model. So, disability empowerment, disability is just a whole different view of what disability can be, and these really cool activists and entrepreneurs in the disability field actively trying to make change. And then my teacher said disability arts. And for me, I was like, "What do you mean by that?" And so there's some really cool people. There's someone named Carmen Papalia, who actually, he does these really cool art exhibits. And he's blind. He's a blind person in Vancouver, and he did like this whole thing where instead of a white cane, he does not like the white cane much. He'll use it, but instead of a white cane, he had an entire orchestra around him while he was walking.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
when the orchestra was like guiding him to go left, they would play on the left side, or like to move back or forward. Like they were just it was just such an incredible thing. And so when I was like when my no pun intended, my eyes were opened to this
Mhm.
whole world, I was like, this is so cool. And like just disability can be viewed in such a different way. And I think through art and culture, that's what I'm working towards specifically, is like disability studies, but working in disability arts and culture specifically. I run the other way when I hear the word research. So, but I think that really, like, that first class is really what, like, was like, "Wow, there's so much more that I can do." And then I started taking more classes, like disability and representation. That like, "What? What do you mean?" And realizing that only I think it's what's the percentage? 3.9% of characters on TV are disabled, and 80% of within that are played by able-bodied people. And so those statistics, I've never seen myself fully represented on TV. And so that is really like why I'm in disability studies and like what got me into there.
Speaking of representation on film and television, are
Yes.
there pieces of media that you feel that do represent some of your experience or part of your experience?
Yeah. So when you guys asked me this before, I had to sit with it and I really was stumped. And so I was like, okay, because I'm, again, watching TV, like I don't know if you guys watch a show, Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, that
My
was my
mom,
childhood.
yes. So I was raised on all of these shows,
Yes.
and my mom put Little House on the Prairie on to show me Mary. And so I grew up watching that show, and then I realized later on in life Mary's not actually blind. And so that kind of started the whole thing. And then a little controversial show I like to call Glee. I, again, being a musical theater lover, absolutely fell in love with that show. And then I seen there was a person in a wheelchair. Come to find out later on, played by an able-bodied actor. So those were like the controversial ones that really like impacted me in a negative way. And I'm like, okay, why aren't can disability not like people with disabilities not be actors? And then I started watching more my very first animation, like my first animation that I ever like fully connected with. I think I was like 13 at the time. How to Train Your Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
There was something about this movie and the character Hiccup, and just the way like Toothless, first of all, he became disabled with his tail. Spoiler alert. Um, and then at the end of the movie, Hiccup, he became I got a below the knee amputee. And I, at the age of 13, was like, what do you mean? That movie right there made such an impact on me. And as I got older, the characters got older in the shows and the movies that would come out as well, because there was TV
Mm-hmm.
series that I grew up on for these as well. And just the way that Hiccup identified with his disability in each aspect of his life was like me. So the first movie, he was just coming to terms with his disability. That started my progression of coming to terms with my disability. By the second movie, he was like, owning it and all of that.
Yeah.
I started owning my disability. And then when I went into college, I think it was my first or second year of college, the third movie came out, like the final movie. I, at this point, love these characters. Hiccup, grew up and he like became who he was meant to be. And Toothless, who he depended on, like, he kind of like they kind of went their separate ways. Again, spoiler alert. Um, but I think all of those movies, I went out of the film sobbing in this children's movie just because of how deeply it impacted me. And then before that, there was a little movie called Rent.
That little
The
one.
musical, yes. And that movie, I think that was like one of the first actual musicals that I watched. My mom was just watching it when I was younger, and I started listening to it. I'm like, oh my God, first of all, the music is beautiful. But as I grew up, reading this, like understanding the story, and Jonathan Larson, who is by far like my role model in life. Just his whole aspect of No Day But Today and finding yourself within community, bringing activism into art. For
Mm.
like, Rent is all about the AIDS crisis. For me, it would be so cool to have a show of that, bringing in people with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I really connected to that show because of that aspect and just the whole thing of No Day But Today. Like I have a tattoo of it. That was my first tattoo
I love that.
that I got, and it says No Day But Today. And then, some of his other pieces, Tick Tick Boom.
I think you also gave us an example of All the Light We Cannot See
Yes.
as
Okay,
well.
that one has a special mention.
Mhm.
While I do not identify with living in World War II
Well, yeah.
as the character, I think that was like the first time, and this was like just recent years, that I actually seen somewhat authentic blindness portrayed. And just her character, she was more than just like blindness. Oftentimes we see people with disabilities in media and they're just their disability. And it's either they're the villain or they have to cure their disability, and or both. you know? So it was the first time that she was like, "Okay, I'm blind." And the people in her life were like, "Okay, you're blind. We all have to get through this war somehow." And she didn't let her disability stop her. And like obviously like just showing that lived authentic experience.
we did an episode where we had a panel that the actress from that series was talking on. Series?
Yes.
It's a show,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It's a mini series.
Miniseries, yeah. And it was really like, for you and or the listeners to go back and listen to that. It was one of our TIFF episodes. It was really fascinating to hear her experience of working on set for the first time, because she was the first time in a big production like that.
Role.
Yeah. And she had some really great insight. So anyway,
Yes.
So what would you like to see represented? If you got to go into the room and be like, this is the show we're gonna make, what would that show be?
I think Blindness, it's getting there. The brain tumor community, it's a interesting one, right? So I am someone who is living with a brain tumor. I have been for 26 years. Goodness. And it's one of those things that I have never seen authentically represented. That is the one thing that I want to see actually done right. Again, blindness is a whole other story, but I think brain tumors is like where my heart is going, especially working in the film industry. When I see a brain tumor, first of all, it's always like, it's never mentioned. I'll be watching like a movie I was watching a movie about a dog and the owner gets a brain tumor. And I'm like, here we go. And then, the owner's like, oh my God, you're gonna die. And I'm like, what do you mean? This is supposed to be a cute dog movie. And so with brain tumors, it's either like they're automatically like on their deathbed, or they're like magically cured. And I have gotten that question, like, why don't they just take it out? If only the doctors have thought of that. But in reality, people don't realize, that it take like my brain tumors, and a lot of them, people are just living with them. There are probably more people living with them and just on a wait and watch period than there are people who have brain tumors and are just magically cured. Because my brain tumor, for me, if they were to go in and remove it, there would be more deficits. And for me, like, that is something like you see it in Grey's Anatomy a little bit. Again, like, that is a big show that I love. But Grey's Anatomy had a few stories on brain tumors, but there wasn't any of that, like, a character gets a brain tumor in the main cast and then they like deal with it for a few episodes and then it's just gone. It's like, where's that like follow up? Where is that whole thing? It's like with Arizona's leg.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are Grey's Anatomy watchers.
I still am.
But like, yeah, so there's a character who like had like a traumatic experience and she lost her leg and they don't talk about it anymore. So yeah, for me, I want to see more authentic people living with brain tumors. And just like, brain tumor diagnosis, and throughout the series, it could be that might not be what TV's meant for, and it might be boring for TV, but like having someone being like, "Oh, I have an MRI. It's a stressful time right now." Because I live my life in like periods of like 6 months.
Yeah.
I have an MRI, I get the results, I party, woohoo! It's stable, and then I go back to being in denial about my brain tumor, kind of thing.
Oh, the cycle continues.
Yeah,
how does it feel to truncate your life through the lens of 6 months at a time?
Yeah.
So I have had worse. I've had 3-month increments before.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's just like my normal, like I would say I prefer the longer. I'm getting my MRI results in a few weeks for the one that I just had. But it's one of those things where it's like, we brace for impact a little bit and then we just like, we deal with it. Like you got to deal with it, right? I've had 6 brain surgeries. 3 of those being in childhood. And then when COVID hit, we were all in lockdown. And then my tumor said, I want to party.
Okay.
Let me have some fun. So there was 2021 to 2022. I had brain surgery 6 months later, emergency brain surgery to fix what had gone wrong in that other one. And then another 6 months later after that, another brain surgery followed by radiation. So because of that, after that, it was scary. And so it would go every 3 months, but I had to learn how to, I guess, just live in the moment. And again, it goes back to Jonathan Larson, who I will talk about for hours if I could, and living, my life in love for what I do and not in fear.
Yeah.
Like, yes, living with a brain tumor is terrifying sometimes.
Mhm.
But it's not going to get me anywhere if I'm just moping around all the time being like, what if, what if, what if?
Yeah.
You know, so just taking every day, no day but today, and living it like it's going to be my last. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that answers your question.
I like that what you said, living in love and not in fear. That is
Yes.
really beautiful.
Yeah, and, like,
Yeah,
I
I
guess by
like
that,
that.
like, it doesn't have to be a partner, you
Yeah.
know, but for people, like, living your life in what you do, that is when I made the crucial choice to go back into acting and film, because at the end of the day, I think that is just what I am here to do, you know? Whatever projects I am meant to work on, and that's what brings me joy and so much love at the end of the day, and being around people that I love, and, you know, my cat Winnie, who I love, and my family, yeah, and just not living in fear. Have a day of panic and fear, but after that, get over it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I love that. I'm gonna write. I've written it down.
Yeah,
and now we need our
maybe this will be
T-shirts.
my next tattoo.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what is something speaking? This is like a great segue to the next question. What is something that you've watched recently that has brought you joy, and why?
Ooh. Okay, I guess my like really my guilty pleasure is reality TV. So I've really been enjoying The Traders recently, and it's like a like you know adults go into a big fancy mansion and it's like a murder mystery. So that's brought me joy. And I think, you know, Grey's Anatomy episodes, something that brought me very bitter sweet joy was the memoriam that they did at the last episode of Grey's Anatomy for Eric Dane, who unfortunately passed away. I don't know if that's joy, quotation marks.
It's a
Yeah.
emotion.
And then more recently, the Wicked movie. I was fully sobbing at that movie, but it was so beautiful. I went with 2 of my guy friends, and I, like, purposely dressed as pink, like, I am
Yes.
the Glinda in our friend group kinda
Yeah.
thing.
I love
And at the end of the movie, the lights come up, everyone's leaving, I'm just both of my guy friends turn their heads to me. I am just a sobbing mess and puddle. My sweater was like, my sleeves were soaked,
it. I've been there.
and they
Yeah.
were like, "We're never taking you to another movie again."
Wicked just like holds true, man. It was so good. So
The
good.
first one is a good time, and the second one is gonna destroy you.
Interviewed the editor of Wicked because I have an editing podcast,
Wow.
and I cried talking to him about the movie. We both cried. I was like, "What is
Yes.
happening?" So anyway, so good.
Well,
So
I
good.
think there's something like there's so many hidden storylines behind that.
Mhm.
Like I think people can like I personally can connect to Elphaba. You know, and I
Mhm.
think we all can either
Yep.
like some days it's Elphaba, some days it's Glinda, but I think I seen myself in Elphaba
Mhm.
and just in so many of those aspects. And it was like it hit close to home, man.
Yeah.
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 Totally.
What are you kind of excited about working on at the moment? Like either something you're doing now or something you're like dreaming of doing next.
Yes. So I a few months ago I wrote like I was working at a TV network learning how to pitch a show. And within like that apprenticeship, I was actively writing and creating these worlds and these stories. And I have a TV concept that I'm really trying to get my foot in the door, trying to figure it out.
So IPF, the Independent Producers Fund, they do like short like web series. And basically what happens is you can apply and they give you funding to make a teaser and like to try to then progress it further. And so you can develop the stuff, but they're now also doing 30-minute episodes. So I'm just saying, if it's something you want to do, even as like, hey, here's like a version of it. And then there's another version of it that's bigger. I'm just saying like, that's a really great way to get your foot in the door because it's a different bar to entry. Like not, it's still quality. Yes. But it's about like less about, oh, do you have an agent? Do you have this person? Can you get to this person? Like there's so many layers to making a TV show and that reduces a lot of the barriers, which is why it was created. Okay. So where can people find you and your work online?
Yeah, so they can find me at Alicia Grace Official, pretty much everywhere and anywhere, or you know, just typing Alicia Grace Chenier. Yeah, I am the girl in pink, the girl with the fun canes.
I love it.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking time to chat with us and get us excited about your ideas.
Thank
I'm
you
ready.
guys so much for listening to my ideas and my stories.
Yes, we love
No,
it.
it's
Rambles.
fantastic.
This is a great conversation. And if there's listeners out there who are like, they have disabilities and they want to test the waters out with disability in film, TV, dance, like anything, look it up, because I tell you, it's probably been done and there's probably a community very like closer than you think.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Alicia was so joyful. I really enjoyed talking to her.
Yes, I just because often I listen to the interview again right before we record this intro and outro, and I was like smiling the whole time. It's just like so wonderful when you meet someone who you can just like feel joy like through a screen. Like you don't meet people that like that very often, and it was like so wonderful to have to talk with her. So.
Yeah.
Just thank you for joining us. That's all I can say.
I actually met with her after our interview to talk about one of her show ideas, and I think she's gonna make some great stuff in her career. She's young and she's just starting. So keep your eyes out for Alicia going forward, because I feel like she's gonna grace the world with wonderful things.
Yes.
So this is our second video podcast, and I forgot. And I have a bunch of stuff on my desk behind me. But I also wanted to show off the cute tiger pillow that my sister Heather bought for me for my new office. So now you get a glimpse of what we do, where we sit when we make our podcast Brains, and where I edit, where Heather writes. These are our offices, and we love creating here. So now you get to see it.
And yes, I do play these instruments, except for the middle one, which is a mandolin that I can never get to tune right. So it looks pretty on my wall.
It is very pretty. I have posters from all of the festivals that I have either had films in or I have been to. Oh, you can't see. Oh, there it is.
Oh, that's cool.
And also shows that I have worked on. So
mine are off camera except for one, but I'm also wearing the t-shirt today too. I'm always repping Revival because I love it so much. Shout out to all the Revival writers and my showrunners.
Go
and
Revival.
To anyone who wants to make the season 2. That's what I really want. So go Revival.
Yay. Oh, one thing actually that I want to shout out. Crypt Trip season 2 is officially launched. So episode 1 aired May 1st. May 2nd, Friday. It comes out on Fridays on AMI. So please go watch. I cut episode 6 of the season. You can go back and listen to our episode with Fred and Danny talking about their episode or their season 1 journey, which was quite the... I don't know what I'm saying.
Adventure.
Yeah, quite the adventure.
We'll just say that. There's other words you can use, but let's say adventure.
It was an adventure. And season 2 does not disappoint. Just as fun. Just as wild.
Yeah. So watch it, share it, listen to our episode about them, write to them with all your love and praise, and write to AMI and say, we need season 3.
Yes, please do that. And tune in. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Brains. Brains is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Taylor, and Heather Taylor. And our theme song is by our little brother, Depesh.
If you like what you hear, please rate and review us and tell your friends to tune in. You can reach us on Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at Brains Podcast, spelled BRAAINS Podcast. You can also visit our website, brainspodcast.com, to contact us, subscribe, and learn a little more about who we are and what we do. Until next time, I'm your host, Heather.
And I'm your host, Sarah.